Age of Union, interview 2, take 1.
So right now we are hearing the gibbon calling in the sanctuary. This is the alert call became a territorial call because they need to feel more confident. And this is a female doing the long call. And she will stop, and the male wait for, and this is the male. The female again, starting. So there is 2 female. So in the wild, it will be the mother and the infant. So the young female imitating the mother. But here in the sanctuary, because we have so many gibbon, it can be different. It's just the gibbon world. So at the moment, especially this year, I spend at least 3 days a week in the forest alone. The first reason is because I need it personally for my mental health. You know, I've been fighting so hard to save Dulan. At some point, I just needed to feel the success we had, feel the forest we saved. I appreciate the moment with the animals. I have so many encounters with wildlife and in the recent years with orangutans. I remember when Andrew was very young, we met a female and she got very interested by the human bringing a child in the forest. He was 4 years old, Andrew, at the time, because you are not anymore a predator for the orangutan, because you are taking a young child with you.
I remember one of the moments as me and Shani were walking in the jungle. We just walked in the jungle and there's this continuous sound like a fruit fall from the trees. At first we thought it was a squirrel. And then when we came closely together, nice and slow, there's 7 orangutans in one single tree. It's incredible because the orangutan, like 80 kilos, 100 kilos, and 7 of them just eating fruits in the trees. Yeah, we're just watching them the whole day. We eat our lunch, and then they eat their lunch in the top of the tree as well. So.
Di hutan ini pertama, stres kita bisa hilang. Karena sunyi, mendengar bunyi binatang. Seandainya kita ada permasalahan tadinya, dibawa ke hutan itu minimal lebih separuh hilangnya, ibarat beban.
The scale of the deforestation in Indonesia, to give you an idea, in 2024 we lose 200,000 hectares only in Borneo. Only 20% of the forest left in Borneo now. It's on the whole island. So the biggest trade here is palm oil. So the palm oil industry, converting the forest to palm plantation. And in addition of that, in top of that, we have now the coal mine activities. For years we work on the rescuing mission from the illegal pet trade, but now we work on saving the animal when they are still in the trees, so saving the forest.
Untuk di posisi itu memang banyak peran yang saya jalani. Seperti menjalankan sanctuary gibbons di Pararawen, kemudian perlindungan alam di Butong. Saya sebagai penjembatan untuk menegosiasi apapun itu di staf maupun di masyarakat di lapangan maupun di pemerintah.
Kalau posisi saya di Kelawit sebagai manajer lapangan. Lalu programnya kita selalu ingin meluaskan lahan kita semaksimal mungkin dan mencari istilahnya yang betul-betul aman.
So the way we work to try to save patch of forest with local communities is to give them an alternative. When people are selling their land to the industry, they opt for the money. That's it, simple. We have to be very pragmatic. When we buy the land, instead of cutting the tree, we protect it. And it becomes the property of the village as a communal forest. So it's owned by everyone in the village, but everyone agree not to cut down the trees and not to end it in those forests.
Jadi hal yang paling utama itu masyarakat kuncinya. Masyarakat kuncinya. Karena masyarakat lebih tahu apa yang terjadi di lapangan. Mereka lebih tahu hutan dari kita semua. Cara pendekatan dan membangun kepercayaan dari masyarakat di desa ataupun masyarakat sekitar memang perlu strategi yang tidak mudah ya. Karena masyarakat pasti bertanya-tanya tuh, ngapain nih kalian datang? Apa tujuannya? Apalagi Pak Shani bukan lokal kan. Kami yakinkan, ini hutan kalau misalkan nggak dilindungi sekarang, kedepannya udah nggak ada lagi. Karena memang fragmen hutan yang kami kerjakan sekarang itu, di proyek Dulan kami, sudah terkepung dengan perusahaan batubara dan sawit.
Kalau proses pengemanan lahan, pembebasan lahan, itu memang sangat sulit. Karena kita harus memberi arahan, bukan cuma 1 kali, 2 kali, 3 kali. Yang sering saya jelaskan ke warga, seandainya Bapak punya tanah, dan di dalamnya ada kebun karet, atau kebun buah, itu untungnya masih ada hak pemilik itu tadi. Jika nyedap karet, masih bisa. Berbuah bisa diambil, cuma dengan satu syarat, jangan ditebang. Kalau naik oke. Atau nunggu jatuh. Dilarang membakar, dilarang berburu, dilarang menebang. Itu betul-betul sudah meresap di pikiran warga bahwa mereka sama-sama punya kepedulian.
Saling berkesinambungan masyarakat adat dengan hutan. Jadi memang lebih untuk membangun kepercayaan masyarakat, ya sosialisasi yang terutama kan. Jadi memang kita harus ada sedikit cara ngerangkul, kemudian tata cara bahasa kita yang menyesuaikan dengan kearifan lokal.
During the years, we and my family at all, we receive threat from people, from the palm oil industry, from loggers, from the government sometimes in the past. But as always say, if you do real conservation in Indonesia, you will have enemies. If you are friend with everyone, it's because you are doing nothing. I'm very frustrated by big NGOs working in conservation because, first of all, we feel very alone on the ground. The big name, everybody heard about it, are not doing the job. They are not. At the end of the day, a lot of organizations are saying they are doing conservation, but they are just doing research. They are documenting the situation, the extinction of the species, the deforestation. We need the data. I'm not against data, of course. We need the data, but we need action at some point. We need to be very pragmatic and to get immediate result. We can't hope anymore to educate a generation to have result in the next 15 or 20 years. We will lose everything. What I truly believe is action start where there is hope. So the thing I love to do is to talk about conservation to people who, at first, they are not interested at all. So like we do in the social media, but in television, like we did also in Indonesia with a radio station for many, many years. So I really love to mix entertainment and conservation to reach a new audience.
So I have 2.4 million subscribers on YouTube. And on Instagram, I have 700,000 followers. Most of my content on YouTube is basically my adventures in the forest. I can climb a tree, I can do a tour with my kayak. And I have my first hits, I would say, is when I spend a night on top of a tree. People just think that is just crazy thing to do because in Indonesia, people is like scared of the jungle, I would say. I receive a lot of message for them were saying that, oh, I love watching your video because I feel like I was in that forest with you, or something like that. For example, all the village in Butong, in Pararawen, they all watch our videos on YouTube. And it's cool that they can understand, they can enjoy the video as well. It's becoming one of most powerful tools for us as well to spread the message to all over Indonesia, basically.
I want to focus on what we can save if you are looking globally, because it's too big, Calauet can't make any difference. But locally, in this village, in this region, in this area, yes, and this is the example. So locally, we can make a lot of small victory, and we have to raise all the hope from this small success to bring more people with us, to save even more.
Kemudian kalau untuk perlindungan alam, saya pingin pemerintah tuh lihat loh, ini loh yang kami kerjain tuh, coba dihargai gitu, coba dihargai, jangan dicurigai, dihargai apa yang kami kerjain gitu. Kuncinya di situ. Kalau pemerintah dukung, kasih kami salah satu dokumen ataupun payung hukum yang memang saya impikan lah untuk keamanan kami semua, ya kan.
Harapan saya ke depan, karena saya bekerja di sini kan tidak mungkin sampai saya tua. Arti harapan saya ke depan semoga sama dengan pikiran saya dan hati saya, sama-sama menjaga walaupun itu berganti. Seperti saya bilang dengan warga, seandainya kita membunuh binatang atau kita menebang pohon ini, suatu saat 10 tahun ke depan, 20 tahun ke depan, anak kita tidak tahu yang namanya pohon ulin. Kalawet semakin jaya ke depan dan lokasi kawasan yang kita amankan tetap terjaga. Siapapun mengganti saya nanti, gitu harapan saya.